Thank you very much, Vasily. Allow me at the outset to thank my colleague, Ambassador Zhang Jun, and your good self for organizing this very important meeting. I would like also to thank the briefers for the information and insight they provided us with. I really appreciate the efforts of friendly member states in the Security Council that seek to distance this sensitive file from politicized considerations. However, this will not be an easy task, as the OPCW Technical Secretariat and UN Office for Disarmament Affairs are fulfilling Western political agendas due to the immense pressure by some member states led by the United States, the UK and France and Germany, in order to maintain the chemical weapons file as a tool of pressure and blackmail against my country, Syria, and against Russia. The same hostile governments continue their attempts to cast artificial doubts about the solid and established facts, which prove that the Syrian Arab Republic no longer possesses any chemical weapons and that it has not and will not use them. Furthermore, they refuse to admit that the activities of the Joint Investigative Mechanism, JIM, and the Fact-Finding Mission, FFM, along with their reports, were neither impartial, professional, nor balanced, but rather failed to provide scientific and factual documented evidence of any accusation leveled against Syria. Not to mention the remote Hollywood investigations conducted by the JIM and the FFM without visiting the crime scene, and the failure of the authors of their reports to provide any proof or scientific evidence regarding the validity and integrity of the chain of custody of evidence that has been used in directing false accusations against the Syrian Arab Republic. Having said that, allow me to take advantage of the presence of scientific experts with us in this meeting in order to benefit from their experience regarding some questions that OPCW-TS is still trying to avoid answering. Number one, to what extent the criteria for the reliability of the chain of custody apply to the methods used by experts of JIM and FFM when they remotely investigated some of the incidents in Syria from Turkey? And how can they rely on so-called open sources and terrorist entities, namely the White Helmets terrorist organization, who happened to be the first to be present where the alleged crimes took place, and who happened to be the party that collected and transferred the so-called evidences? Two, how can anyone rely on the conclusions reached by the JIM and FFM while they used in their reports speculative and uncertain terms such as likely or unlikely while evaluating scientific and factual elements? Three, how can we explain that OPCW experts refused the Syrian request to collect samples from Al-Shu'airat Air Base? As you know, the US claimed that this base was used in Khan Sheikhoun bombing in order to justify its aggression against it. In this regard, can technical experts explain the scientific possibility of bomb falling from a warplane over the alleged site of this accident while it was flying at a distance of 5 kilometers away from this site? Four, regarding the alleged Douma incident, is it not scientifically impossible for a cylinder to fall from the sky and collide with the roofs of houses without exploding or being deformed? Even when it fell on a bed inside a room, no damage was caused, neither to the bed or the furniture, nor the glass in the room. Is it a miracle? And I'm thankful and grateful to both briefers who shed a light on this very important angle of the question. 5. How can the OPCW lose sensitive samples that were collected in order to solve the outstanding issues regarding the Syrian declaration? The OPCW-TS informed the Syrian side on June 22nd, 2020, about a leakage of these samples. Yet, until today, the OPCW-TS is unable to provide a clear explanation regarding this leakage. 6. Didn't massive legal and procedural violations and abuses occur when the OPCW violated the convention and established a so-called Investigation and Identification Team, IIT, in June 2018? I'm talking here about the non-consensual decision that was taken by an artificial majority and in the absence of the representatives of 87 member states from the vote. Allow me here, Mr. President, to invite all of you to read the report published by the Gray Zone, entitled Leaked Documents Expose Massive Syria Propaganda Operation Waged by Western Governments, Contractors and Media. This report reveals scandals about hundreds of millions of dollars that Western governments, namely the US and the UK, have spent from taxpayers' money to establish and finance platforms, networks, and media institutions, especially the White Helmets, in order to promote distorted media propaganda against the Syrian government. It seems that the school of Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, is still open until now, and many of its graduates hold higher degrees in the literature of lying, the art of distorting scientific facts, and sophisticated philosophy. Sophistry philosophy that is anti-science and specialist experts who know well what they are talking about. These scientists support their talk with scientific evidence based on long experience and moral principle that is against Goebbels' propaganda. Unfortunately, colleagues from the NATO alliance representatives in the Council insist to refuse opinions of scientists and attempt to empty the purpose of their talks. Insisting to wrongful allegations is even worse than wrong itself, because they refer to the misintentions principally. Weak claim and absence of moral vision. History is full of series of scandals fabricated by some Goebbels graduates academy to destroy many member states, and I don't want to remind everyone about what happened about the invasion of Vietnam, the invasion of Cuba, the invasion of Iraq, Libya, and the attempts of invading my country, Syria, and other countries in this organization. So lying is lying. We in Syria are realistic, Mr. President, and pragmatic, and we will continue to work with the OPCW's Technical Secretariat with the limits of respecting and preserving the Convention and without prejudice to our national sovereignty. And we believe that the time has come to permanently put an end to the manipulation and politicization of these files and close it for good. I thank you very much.